Hello, and welcome to the Zikaron, a workshop for proclaimers of the Word. My name is Paul Flores. I'm the Director of Media and Communications here at St. Pius X Catholic Church. I'm also the trainer for the Ministers of the Word. The goal of these mini workshops is to dive deeper into the concept of to remember is to meet again. To offer motivation, reflection, prayer, and resources to help you grow in your ministry as a minister of the Word. To challenge each other to grow spiritually. To grow from a reader to a proclaimer. Today, we interviewed two proclaimers of the Word for this first episode. Some words of wisdom as we begin this journey. Okay, can you give me your name and how long you've been a parishioner here at St. Pius?
My name is Sylvia Reed Quigley, and I've been a parishioner at St. Pius for a little over 20 years.
Wow, that's a long time. So in that 20 years, have you done any other ministries here at St. Pius?
I have not done ministries at St. Pius. I have supported when they do like the Christmas giving tree and tuna sandwich making, donating supplies for school children. I've always been involved in all of that, but not in an actual ministry. So this is my first ministry here at St. Pius.
So basically like periodic ministries, or
yes.
Seasonal ministries?
Seasonal ministries,
yes.
And in the past at other parishes, I have been a youth group leader and Bible study coordinator. I've done a couple other ministries, but this is my first one here at St. Pius.
My name is Tom Brysack, and I've been at St. Pius since 1999. 22 years.
22 years,
yeah. Wow.
And how long have you been doing this ministry? Okay.
Almost as long, probably 19, 20 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a really great question. I have been asked by numerous pastors at numerous parishes over the years if I would be a lector and proclaimer of the Word, and I just never felt I had heard the calling or had the need. I didn't feel like I could fulfill the need of the parishes at the time. But I had always enjoyed hearing, it's such an important part of Mass, to hear the Word proclaimed. A few years ago, my father-in-law passed away. He was who I considered the proclaimer extraordinaire. He spent decades as a proclaimer and had such a way of being inspiring and motivating and absolutely captivating, and was so connected to the words that he was parlaying to the parish. When he passed away, I really felt a calling, part as to honor him as somebody who was so influential in my life, but also I just felt like the message came through from God that was the time for me to seek this role. I had been seeking a way to be involved in the parish, and I got the message loud and clear.
Well, when I was in high school, I was on what was called the debate team, or the NFL. I did a little bit of debating, but I did more oratory work. Which was an actual competitive club, and we had, matches with other schools and stuff like that. So I had a lot of training in that, and it was a natural thing for me to say, well, why don't I volunteer? And I actually sort of did that in college. I did readings I went to Santa Clara, University of Santa Clara Jesuit College, so we had every Sunday 10 p.m. Mass with, it would remind you a lot of the 9 a.m. Mass here, so I did reading there.
Oh, these Jesuits.
They're great, let me tell you.
Love them. Gotta love them.
I think that the ministry has kept me connected to the church through some difficult personal times, which have allowed me to learn through my own hardships with God next to me and with the congregation at St. Pius next to me. In terms of the ministry, so the main way the ministry has helped me grow spiritually is to keep me sort of involved at times when I might have found it easy to not stay connected. The act of reading only recently has become something that I've really felt spiritually I need to be more aware of and connected to, and to pray about as I prepare those readings. And that has helped me come to even more understanding of the Scripture, or at least the Scripture as it seems to apply to me and to my family and those I love, and even to some of the people at St. Pius.
I have found that since I have become a proclaimer of the Word, my faith and my spirituality have grown so much. I was seeking a way to fulfill a desire to grow spiritually. I felt like my faith was strong, but I wanted to grow spiritually in my faith and in who I was as a Catholic. So I think one of the big ways I've grown is really feeling the connection between the readings, the responsorial psalm, and the gospel, and finally feeling how all of those together, woven together, make a tapestry. Rather than just having loose threads, they all came together for me, and I finally understood why those pieces all together were so important in the celebration of the Mass. I also feel I have grown in when I prepare for Masses, I feel the need to really understand every word that I'm proclaiming, because each word is important in some way in that reading. It's not wasted verbiage. So I feel like I've grown in my understanding of my faith, in understanding of my needs as a Catholic woman, and in my needs to grow spiritually. It also ties in nicely to two other areas I volunteer. I'm the chaplain for a local Marine Corps League detachment, and in that capacity I serve mostly Marines that often will speak to me and share with me when they won't talk to anybody else, and just to be able to minister them in a very wholesome way and to support them in their needs. I'm also an adult group facilitator for a local organization that supports grieving children, and I have found that tying into my development in that capacity, I have found that my development as a lector, as a minister of the Word, I feel that I'm a better facilitator because I feel more deeply and more passionately for people, because I feel more deeply connected to myself. I do a number of things. I read the lector handbook, and I always read both the first and second reading. I also read the responsorial psalm, and I read the notes that are included in the book, because that often helps for clarity. I also read my Sunday Missal. Happens to have a short, concise summary of that week's message. So I find sometimes I get like the succinct version of this is what we're trying to get across in all this proclaiming to the parishioners. I also use a Catholic study Bible that I have that I'm very fond of. Sometimes when I read what's in the lector workbook, it doesn't fully resonate with me, so I find if I find the same reading in another resource, sometimes the verbiage or just the way it reads to me resonates with me, and I'm able to understand it better. On occasion, I have to use our handy book about pronunciations, because there are some doozy words that we have to try to get through on occasion. And I do some online resources that I have where I might look at different versions of passages or just some summaries of passages. And I practice. I try to understand the words and the message and know that I need to be very careful in how I speak and make sure that everybody hopefully feels that message coming through, and try to emulate my mentors that I had here and my beloved father-in-law.
I usually start with praying briefly that God would open my ears to hear what He is saying in the readings for the week, and then I read both readings and the comments in the reader workbook about those readings. And then I spend a little time reflecting, not long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most, reflecting on how those readings apply to me in my life and how they might apply to my family and how they might apply to the community. And at that point, I usually read aloud the readings in different tones, different cadences, with emphasis on different words, trying to find, for lack of a better way to say it, the right voice that that expresses what I reflected on earlier and thought that those readings might mean to me and or the community. And I play around, I actually play around a little bit with the cadence and the pauses and the volume of things to see what sounds right. And then once I've done that, and that can take half an hour maybe, I decide if I'm going to memorize the reading or not. Memorization takes time. There's just no way around that, even if you've been doing it since high school. And the older we get, the longer it takes, at least for me. And so I decide, do I have the time? And I usually try to make the time. I mean, that's an important aspect of things. So unless family's in town from somewhere else or whatever, I'll usually set aside 3 hours or so before to do that. But anyway, I decide if I'm going to memorize it or not, and then that's the whole process. I could spend a lot of time maybe talking about if you want at some point, but it's just work to memorize it. Sometimes though, I decide either because of a lack of time for preparation or just because I'm older and it's harder to memorize the whole readings now as opposed to before, I found that picking out the section that, or a paragraph that really means a lot or the most, and just really focusing on memorizing that can be very effective when proclaiming the word. And so sometimes I do that.
Oh goodness. Understanding what you're reading, feeling in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, what you're feeling, and having that experience of the epistle that comes through you to the parish. And I like it to be an experience for myself, and I hope that I give a positive experience to the parishioners.
Take the time and spend the time to prepare in whatever way centers you on the word and helps you focus on what you're reading and what it might be saying to the congregation. Don't short shrift that time. And it doesn't have to be forever. Like I said, you can maybe get there in a half an hour or so, depending on your own style. But take the time.